Do you get sore shoulders when you ride? Hopefully not after this video. So first thing that you need to understand is what is the cause of your shoulders actually being sore. And so what that comes from is them being overworked. They're doing too much work for what they're used to, or they're doing too much work for the size of the muscle group. So we're going to go through a few different areas so you can try and find out what's causing your shoulders to be sore, and then you can pick the solution that's going to help you the most. So first one is just simply your shoulders just aren't strong enough. So this is usually for like people that don't do any strength training, they don't do any weights for upper body stuff. They might just do a lot of cardio, or they only do a lower body, or they don't do anything apart from ride the bike. And then what happens is they go and ride and they go and do a 20-minute motocross race or a 3-hour enduro, and they're flogging the shit out of their shoulders, wrestling the bike backwards and forwards and moving it around. And it's simply just your shoulders just aren't up to the task. They're not used to moving those types of loads. It's exactly the same when you start any type of training program, especially if you haven't done any training before, say in the gym. You get really sore and fatigued in the first week. And it's just because your body's not used to it. So if you're not doing any training during the week and then you're going riding and wrestling the bike around for ages, your shoulders aren't up for the task. So they need a little bit of strengthening. So some exercises that you can do to get your shoulders stronger is you can do things like overhead press with the barbell, bent over rows with the barbell, bench press with the barbell. You could even use dumbbell. I'm not really a fan of dumbbells, but you could use dumbbells and do like overhead press with the dumbbells. You could do the bench press with the dumbbells. You could do bent over rows with the dumbbells as well. But ultimately what you're trying to do is lift some heavier loads. Do say 4 sets of 10 just to start off with and get a little bit of volume into your shoulders. And that will at least give you a starting point. The next one is upper back muscles not working. So you've got your shoulders, so you look at the size of your shoulder muscle, right? So it's like this big. And then if you look at your upper back muscle, which I can't show you on the video, but I'm sure you can see when you have a look in the mirror, is you've got these big lats, these big muscle which goes all the way under your armpit, all the way up the back, all the way up to the top, and then you've got your traps. You've got some big muscle groups in your back, okay? Big, powerful muscle groups, which are much stronger, can take a lot more load, and can have a bit more endurance than what these small shoulders do. So if your upper back is not working, if these muscles up here, these big powerhouse muscles are not working, what happens is the smaller muscle groups have to take over. And so that's where your shoulders start to take a lot more load and a lot more work than what they should. And this happens because your shoulders are stronger than your upper back. And that happens from either doing no training or doing incorrect training when you're at the gym and not getting the right muscles working to actually help you on the bike. So what we want to do during the week is we want to get our upper back and back working and strong. So when our arm is moving backwards and forwards, on the bike, we don't want our shoulder doing all of 100% of the work to be able to move this arm backwards and forwards. We want our upper back doing the work, or a lot of the work, to move this arm backwards and forwards. And so the way that you do that is through doing the right type of training. So some exercise, or the best exercise to be able to do that, which is really easy to do, is the bent over row. So you can search at YouTube it, find some videos for a bent over row with a barbell. There's different variations. The variations aren't really that important. I'd probably use a barbell to start off with and start at the top of the knee, pull into the belly button, and that's going to get those big powerhouse muscles working. So ideally, if you're someone who hasn't had a program that's specifically designed by someone who knows what they're doing, and I say that in a respectful way, because what a lot of people do, and I was guilty of this as well, is I would go to the gym and I might have a program, but I've just whipped it up myself. And so before I knew anything about training, I would just put together like my favorite exercises or parts of the body that I thought needed help. And so the problem with that is your body has what's called structural balance. So all the muscle groups interplay with each other. It's not as simple as just like, oh, one muscle does this, another does that, another muscle does that. All the muscles work together. So this is where you get problems like people will train a lot of quads, right? But they don't do enough hamstring and glute work. And so what happens is they start getting sore knees, and they wonder why they're getting sore knees because they're doing so much quad work. So they haven't got structural balance between their posterior chain, which is the muscles at the back of the body, and the anterior chain, which is the muscles at the front of the body. It's the same with the shoulder and the upper body. A lot of people do a lot of chest and a lot of forward exercises, mirror muscles, and they neglect all the back muscles. So that's when they start getting shoulder pain or start getting elbow pain and getting all of these joint issues, because they're not training the body to be able to have structural balance, which means preventing injuries, number one, and number two, it's going to make you more powerful and more stronger. or make you stronger. So you want to get those upper back muscles working. So for most people, they haven't got those upper back muscles working, and their shoulders, these little muscles, are actually stronger than those big muscles. So once you start getting those big powerhouse muscles working, they're going to take over the bulk of the upper body work when you're out on the bike. So again, that's why your bent over rows are your friend. You want to make sure that you're really feeling it in your upper back, in those lats, in your shoulder blades, because they're the muscles that we're trying to get working. If you can do that, it's going to take the load out of these bad boys, and you're going to be able to ride way longer and a lot easier. The next thing is your legs not working properly. So if you're on the bike and, like, I guess riding skills 101 is you need to be gripping the bike with your legs. Okay, I've never been around, I'm not a bike coach and I don't do any bike skills because that's not my skill set, but I've never heard a bike coach say, don't grip with your legs, have loose legs. I've never heard that ever. Correct me if I'm wrong. If you've heard it from somewhere, post it below in the comments, but I've never heard that. It's always grip with your legs, which requires strength and endurance in your legs to be able to do that. So if you're not gripping with your legs, that means your lower body and your legs are not doing a lot of the work on the bike to move it around. And again, when those big powerhouse muscles like your legs aren't doing the work that they need to, those smaller muscle groups start to do a lot more work. That's where you start to get arm pump, and that's where you start to get shoulders and other muscle groups doing work that they shouldn't be doing. And the reason that those muscle groups start to do work that they shouldn't be doing is your body adjusts, or you do it, whether you know you're doing it or not, you adjust when you start to feel pain and feel fatigue in your body. So like if your legs are sore, for example, what you'll find when you're riding is you don't stand up as much. You use bumps to get your ass up off the seat rather than using your legs to get up off the seat. You'll start to change your line selection. You'll start to accelerate differently, not as hard, not go into corners as hard. And that puts you, so when you're sitting down more and you're not doing all the stuff that you need to, the bike's doing all sorts of stuff. So your legs are resting and they're not doing the work. That work's still got to be picked up somewhere else. So that's when the other muscle groups have to jump in. Because you've changed your riding style, because of the fatigue, you're changing your riding style, which means other muscle groups have to now do more work. So you might start off with sore legs, and then you start sitting down more, and then you start getting arm pump. And then you start getting arm pump, so you try and move your body around again differently, and then you start getting sore shoulders. And then your shoulders are getting really sore, so you change again, and then you start getting a sore lower back, and everything starts moving around. And so that can stem from the legs not doing the work. So get your legs stronger can also be a great solution. Do things like back squats and deadlifts are a great start to build overall strength and specifically more lower body dominant strength. The last one is technique. So if you really don't know how to ride, and again, this is not my skill set, I'm not a bike coach. I've done a lot of like coaching as a student, as a rider, but I'm not a bike coach. I don't know too much about skills and drills and all that sort of stuff. It's not my wheelhouse. But technique can be a problem if you're not getting into the right positions on the bike. If you're not in the right positions on the bike, you're not going to have the right muscle groups doing the work. And the muscle groups that should be doing the work are the bigger muscle groups and the more powerful muscle groups. So if that's the scenario where you don't know how to ride and maybe you've never done riding coaching before or aren't sure what positions to get in on the bike, what you might find is that you're muscling the bike around with your arms a lot instead of flowing with the bike and being a bit more relaxed. And again, that comes down to technique. So in that scenario, that's where you get a riding coach or go on YouTube and have a look at some drills that you can do to get into a better position to get those bigger muscle groups working. Because even if those muscle groups are really, really strong, if you're not getting in the right position to actually use them, so for example, like if you're on the bike and you just sit there upright like this and you just are rocking backwards and forwards like this the whole time, then you're probably going to get muscles. There's a lot of the muscles are going to be very, very fatigued because your body's doing way more work than what it should be. So it's not always technique, but it can be. So I thought it was worth mentioning. So now it's just up to you to find out, like, is it your shoulders aren't strong enough and you need to dial that in? Are your upper back muscles not working properly and you need to dial that in? Are your legs not working properly and you need to dial that in? Or do you need to work on some technique work?